I wanted to talk to you about negatives. I recently had some kind of surprising negative things happen in my life, and it was really disturbing. And it had been a long time since anything had upset me so much. And what I found myself doing is kind of going down in this endless spiral of negative thought. I couldn't help but keep recalling what had happened, wishing I had responded differently, just thinking about what went wrong. And it was really keeping me from doing the things that I needed to do, from enjoying the things that I normally enjoy, and from, as everybody likes to say these days, living my best life. So I've thought about that, and there's some biblical things that would really be helpful for us when we're in situations like that. First of all, I think it's pretty normal for humans to perseverate or think about negative things that happen to them. We just do. Often there's a sense of unfairness or injustice. And, in a way, it's really good that unfairness and injustice bother us, even when it's happening to us or other people. So, if you feel that way, don't beat yourself up about it. I know a lot of people say, well, you should just be thankful for everything you have. Well, that's true. But when something negative happens, acknowledge it. It was a bad thing. Maybe you did something bad. Maybe someone did something that was not very kind to you. Acknowledge it. But don't let yourself spiral out of control. There are a couple things you can do. And the first thing is that you can set a timer and say, for 15 minutes, I'm going to think intensely about this or talk about it with someone else. But when that 15 minutes is over, stop. Go ahead and put it on your calendar for the next day to think about it for 15 minutes or talk about it with someone for 15 minutes. And when the next day comes and that time rolls around, talk about it, think about it, whatever you need to do, cry your tears, and then stop, schedule it again for the next day. And eventually what you'll find is you just don't even need to schedule it anymore, that it just softens, that the forgiveness comes. Now, that doesn't mean that you forget or that you necessarily want to go back to the way things were with someone else, but the pain that you feel goes away. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it just takes a few sessions like that. The second thing I want to remind you of is that God sends us all kinds of messages reminding us that he loves us, that he's in control, and that we should have faith and trust in him. This is mighty and important for us to know. I look at the story of Noah, and throughout that story, God's talking about covenants, 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 these agreements that he has with us. And then he puts the rainbow in the sky. And the rainbow is there to remind us that God is in control and God has made these covenants with us. And so, there's this horrible, horrible storm that we will see or experience. And then afterwards, we see this rainbow. And we totally forget about the storm because the rainbow is so beautiful. And so one of the things that Christians are not always very good about is not looking for kind of the fake blessings of the world, but rather the subtle, quiet reminders of God telling us that he exists and that he's present. Maybe you walk outside and you see this absolutely gorgeous sunset after something really bad has happened that day. And you have this sense that maybe God really is in control and things will be at peace. Or recently, a friend died, and the next morning, the sunrise was beautiful. And everybody around saw that sunrise and felt like God was saying, everything is going to be okay. We need to look for the subtle things, the messages from God that come from other people, from situations, and most importantly, from nature. And we need to set ourselves up so that we are in the right frame of mind to actually see those messages and reminders from God. And so if you're experiencing a time of difficulty, you're experiencing a time of sorrow, or you feel like there's been some injustice or bad behavior perpetrated against you, it's hard not to dwell on it. So give yourself a time limit and then get outside, move, That will help. And as you're moving, go out where there is nature. And there will just be something wonderful that happens for you. God will send you a reminder that he is in control and that he's with you. You're not alone. And that you must have trust and faith in him. He will do it all the time. Now, I'll actually add here before I finish that I did read an article recently. I don't know if I believe this or not, but the article was saying that digging in the dirt is like really useful and helpful for people, that they've done some studies, and they say that gardening, just even planting one flower or weeding, those sorts of things can really take your mind off negative things. So I've certainly been doing my share of weeding this week, but it hasn't been because there's been something on my mind that's bothered me. It really is because there's a lot of weeds, and no matter how dry it gets, no matter how much rain we get, the weeds always outgrow my flowers. So I'm always busy doing that. But I will tell you that, I got this little Fitbit like a lot of people have, and I'm like watching my heart rate and watching my health. And the more time I spend digging, the more time I spend outside in nature, it just seems like everything gets healthier and healthier. And that's probably true physically and mentally and emotionally. So I hope if you're experiencing any difficulties this week, that those will quickly dissipate and that you will be back on track to live your best life, which means that you can do God's work in this world. Next week, I'm going to try to do a full-length sermon on here because some of you have been asking for that. So I don't know how that will go, but I'd really like some feedback. I never really know unless you tell me if you like the full-length sermons, you like the slideshows, or what you like. So let me know. Thanks so much and have a great week.